Welcome to our new Gambia platform, weekly talk show. Today is March 6th, 2022. Today we're going to be discussing about mounting corruption in public and civil service sector. There are a lot of corruptions, so we're going to look at different areas and then kind of sensitize our viewers what this corruption means to our country. It's high time that we combat corruption. We talk about it, we sensitize people about it so that we can have a better Gambia. We cannot prosper if the corruption is eating us up. So I have my co-panelist Sam Sisi from Indiana. Sam, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then later on we're gonna have our other panelists join us. But for the meantime, Sam, let's jump right into it. I'm your host, Mahmoud Sawani in New York. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Sawani. So thank you. Yeah, like you said, corruption is very rampant in our country. And for me, I know sometimes you wonder where to start because it's all over the place and is really out of control. I mean, it's out of control in our country. And the bad part about this is I have not heard any given time, I have not heard anyone that was arrested and prosecuted and put in prison. I have not. Excuse me. So it makes it look like it's not coming to an end anytime soon because corruption is something that really starts from the top, and fighting corruption, you need to start from the top. And meaning the president. So the president need to hold himself accountable, and before he can hold people accountable. If he can't hold himself accountable, he's not going to be able to hold people accountable. That's the simple fact. So corruption will continue, and this is why I said, if you look at all of our institutions, you look at all the government institutions. You look at the Ministry of Health, you look at, then you'll ask yourself, where is all that money that came to the country for the coronavirus? Where is it? Because we have not seen our main hospital being renovated, or have not seen any supplies in there that made the difference. We've not seen any changes there that made the difference. So where's all that money? Okay, then you go to Minister of Agriculture, you go to Forestry, you go to local governments, you go to anywhere, different institutions. You ask yourself, where is all the money that they're generating? Look at the latest scandal at the Central Bank, Central Bank of the Gambia. Can you believe that? There's scandal in there about corruption, and there's still no one that I know of. I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, correct me, definitely. If you heard anyone that was arrested for anything that happened at the central bank. So our institutions are corrupt. You go to NOIC, they're very corrupt. You go to Ministry of Tourism, they're very corrupt. You go to Finance Department, oh, holy cow, that's really even worse. Where else can we turn? Where else Gambians can turn? Anywhere you look is corrupt. Everywhere. You go to immigration, you go to our security forces, and I won't say they're all corrupt. I know there are very God-fearing people in Gambia. There are people that really think of the next world. When they die, they're going to face God, and God is going to tell them the truth. And there's nothing but the truth that's going to prevail. So as a result, there are people that fear that. There are people that are going to worry about that. And those people, those few individuals that are in Gambia that are very honest and going to do the right thing for themselves, the right thing for the country. But boy, for the most part, the majority of the people are corrupt. Yeah, the majority of people are corrupt. And I think, in my mind, this corruption is not going to come to an end. In my mind, from my own analysis, the only way corruption is going to end in Gambia is at the beginning of a new term of a president, or first term of a president, any president. It's got to be a new president that comes in that was never involved in any type of corruption, never involved in any type of deals in anything, or whether they even work for the government or not before. But it's got to be someone that will come in that's going to start with himself as a president, hold himself accountable, avoid being corrupt, and do not allow anyone, national or international, or anyone whatsoever, whosoever, not allow any one of them to corrupt them. That way they can say, all right, this is how we're going to play it now. This is my watch, and here is how things are going to work. And hold himself and his ministers in every department accountable by setting the standards and setting what I call the SOP, standard operating procedures as well, but also make sure there are new laws in the country that protects people and that protects the government assets and the government and the people. Then take it from there and and go down from the top, go down. That's how you fight corruption. And by doing that, a new president also, one of the things they're going to do is to end impunity. And I said this in my audios, the 5 key ingredients to ending corruption or stopping corruption. One is you have to end impunity. You have to really not allow anyone to take anything, get away with it. You hold people accountable. You steal money, you're going to be arrested. You will be prosecuted and you'll be taken to jail. That's how you start. When you start doing that, things will start to shape up. People will be afraid, and they will worry about themselves and their families. Number 2, reform the financial institution and the whole administration. So reforming the administration and financial institutions. So all financial transactions in the country need to be reformed, need to go digital, take cash out of people's hands and make it digital. So electronic funds transfer, use the accounts payable and accounts receivable to be able to transact all these government things. And of course, accountability and transparency become one. But the other part is reconciliation, to make sure all reconciliations take place on a daily basis. So that is 2. The third one is, of course, I mentioned this transparency. Transparency is very important. The president needs to be transparent. What comes to the country, what he gets for the country, the financial status of the country, and tell people the truth, starting with the budget that they make with our country, for our country, the budget that goes to the National Assembly for National Assembly to approve that, all of that. There should be transparency in this. And the fourth one is really empower the citizens and empower the media to hold the government accountable. That's how you do it. You don't threaten them. You don't say, if you go to a protest, we're going to send you the paramilitary and they bombard you with tear gases and all that. So no, you want the public to hold you accountable by coming out and tell the public the truth. Anything that comes out, the government should be the first one to come out and say something about it, rather than waiting until the rumors comes out, until speculations come out. Then the government comes and try to make the story and try to tell people this is a government representative actually try to fool people, and no one can be fooled. This is 21st century, they can't fool people. So that's 4. And the fifth one is to close the international loopholes. That way, any government official that is in authority that has access to government funds cannot take any funds outside of the country. They cannot take it outside of the country. And if they go to buy any property outside of the country, they will be scrutinized very well to see, why is this person who is this person? Why is he buying this much money, spending this kind of money? Or why is he trying to save this much money here? Make the international banks stop them from opening bank accounts in there and put government funds in there, embezzle funds. So if you close all of those, and it makes it very difficult for them to do any transaction, not only them, but even their family members, to have anything outside of the country. So I'm going to stop here and open it up. These are all gateways that we can talk about. There's a lot to talk about in corruption. Not one person can say it all. We can talk about this week after week after week, because every institution is corrupt in Gambia. And like I started with IEC. IEC is very corrupt, very corrupt. I think they need to be dissolved. I think really they need to be dissolved. The chairman is old enough. I don't think he was aware of everything that was happening because of his age and because of his competency with technology. He may not know what was all going on in there. So what he needs to do is resign and clear himself out. He needs to come out and say, you know what, all the things that happened, I was not aware of all of these. As a result, since it happened on my watch, I am going to rescue myself. I'm going to resign from this position and apologize to the country. That's what he needs to do and step aside. Then they investigate all those people that were involved in all this stuff that happened before or during elections, and prosecute, hold people accountable, prosecute them, take them to the court, let the evidences be prevailed in the court, and let the court decide their fate. So things like that should happen. But anyway, like I said, corruption is everywhere in Gambia. So I'm going to stop here and give you guys a chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Alas. Thank you, Sam.
Sorry for coming
welcome.
late.
Yeah, welcome, Alas. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice, and welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Sone, you want to say something?
No, yeah, go ahead. No, I say welcome, Alas.
So okay, I just happened to see it. Yeah, Sam, I think you've said it all almost, and yeah, for corruption in the Gambia, you can talk years, I think, without completing it. We already talk about here, concerning certain topics, but I think the whole thing is just like appearing again, and sometimes even worse because no care is being taken, or nothing is being changed. So for me, I see it just like a tree just growing every day. So I don't know. I hope it's not going to be a difficult thing to root out the whole corruption. Many people are born in the corruption, if you can imagine, and they know only corruption. These young people, or say in the middle of 30 going, they don't know nothing different because they were born in the corruption system, and till now they don't see any other life, So for these people, everything seems to be a normal thing, bribery, stealing from the coffers, all those nonsense. It's not normal, but for many people, it's a normal thing because they were born in that atmosphere and then the system, and there's no changes. I think the only thing is, Sam, you said it here, start from the top. The president must be clean himself and then try to make sure that there are strict rules. When somebody did anything in that direction, to be arrested and prosecuted, and let everybody know what and why the reason is. So we're talking about transparency. These things will be transparent. That will even help the government to know how to fight corruption better. But when there is no transparency, everybody can do and in the dark and hide it. The people don't know nothing about what's going on. You cannot fight corruption that way. I think transparency is the first, and then that will come from the head of state. So examples, but strict examples. And think of the Gambia first, and not to think of who helped me to campaign or such things. Then you fail already. You cannot fight corruption that way. You have to be neutral. Think of Gambia first. Then maybe your party and then the people who help you to vote, the people to vote you. You understand? But always the Gambia first, being a president or whatsoever. That's the only way Gambia can progress. It's very sad that we still staying at the same place or even going back. You can say, we talk a lot. Many people talk a lot. There are a lot of groups, they talk a lot. All was just to help and see a better Gambia. I hope that we'll go there one day with the help of the government and then taking the good advices from our brothers and sisters anywhere, not only from this platform, help themselves, try to follow up, because these are all good advices. I'm even surprised. We talked here our last discussion about how we can fight the inflation in the Gambia. You can remember, and I said even Barrow said something. I'll support him the way he wants to fight the corruption, the inflation, but he should do it this and that way. So the last time I saw the President of America, Joe Biden, the President of America, Joe Biden, was giving a speech last week, I think. So this man said exactly what we said here on the platform, how to fight the American inflation. So I said, wow, look at that. Because he was saying exactly what we were saying here, try to make things that we use ourselves and try to drosel or try in any way less import goods in the Gambia. But we said it here a week before. So you can see that what we discuss here sometimes, even other people can profit from it, not only the Gambia. Not that here the platform they know everything, but sometimes it can help. We talked here about the inflation 3 years back, I don't know, 4, and there we are today. So I would advise the government also to not only this platform. There are other platforms where they can also get information and try to make the Gambia better in any way, because we don't know all and we are not the best experts. We just go through life experience sometimes and a lot of information from what's going on right now, not only for the Gambia but the whole world. So I think when people listen, many people used to do that. They graduate us here and say that's their university, which I'm very proud of it also. But we don't know everything. We can only help, because we're also doing this to see a better Gambia, to help the people who want to know more. That's why civic education. So to fight this corruption, I think what Sam said, the president himself should not be corrupted. I don't know whether it has happened already or we have to go back to the first page or it's coming. I can only support that idea. The person leading must be clean himself so that he can accuse other people. But when the people are doing what they want with the thinking, he cannot accuse me because he himself, you understand? So that is going to show weakness, because they believe that you yourself are in, so you cannot accuse them no matter what they do. And if we see how things are going in the Gambia, you sometimes have this thinking whether what's going on. We don't arrest criminals. That is fact. We don't arrest anybody dealing with our coffers, doing what they want. We don't complain. Oh, people ask whether we have securities and all. We have it, but they are not functional in this case. So the question is, how can we then fight the situation of corruption? What can we do? Because the people already are too far that they believe that even if they steal billions, nothing will happen. And that's very dangerous. Even to have that in their heads. or to say I can steal what I want. I am in this party of the president, so nothing will happen. That's dangerous. When we all think that way, nothing will go. You can pump billions in Gambia, you will not see it the next day. And these are all things happening. So it's even for the government difficult to develop also any development apart from building bridges and streets. I mean, they are good. I mean, good that he did that. At least he should have gone further, but when the money is not there, you cannot see much. And why is the money not there? That's our topic here. Because if some believes that when he play with our coffers, nothing happened to him, Sawane do the same thing. I am also having the same mentality. So, and we know that there is nobody to control us. So what is that for a country? So the people who are lucky to have the access to these coffers, they are living good. But the majority of the society who have no connection to that or to these people, they are poor and getting poorer, especially with the inflation, because they cannot afford anything and they are not faulty. It's not their fault. They are just victims. It's not their fault. The people who cause it, they are there enjoying. They can sleep very, very, very good at night because they know 100% that nothing will happen. And why? Why should they have that believing? Not to be afraid to steal. We have to ask ourselves. That's why I started here with many people are now in the 30s or 40s. They don't know that Gambia should have been different. Why? Because they were born in this system and they're still living in that system and they have not seen an alternative before. For them, it's everything normal. You understand? So it's difficult, but it can help. Many countries were like that. But once the president stand and said, look, it should go this way, and everybody follows. A president is very important. People should believe in you. People should believe in your words. People should believe in your doing. You see what is going on in Ukraine? They believe in this man, no matter what. They believe in his words. They believe in his doing. And that's what you need as a president. But you have to work for it. That's the problem. You have to work for it. It's not just like making bantabas or trommels and people vote you and you say you are the best. No, you need these qualities. Even if not all the whole Gambia vote for you, don't be afraid. Some will insult you. Whether you do it right or not, that is normal. So we throw you stones, because there is a believing when everybody says it's good and nobody says it's bad, then you are not a person. Then you are not a human being. So that means, as a president, no matter what you do, some people must always say it's the worst person. You have to live with it. That's why you are there. If you just sit in your corner, close your door, nobody will insult you. But the fact that you are leading, and you are not leading a herd of sheep or so, you are leading human beings. You have to be ready. It's normal. Somebody used to say, to command a herd of sheep is very easy with one stick. But for human beings, it doesn't function. Because we are sensitive and we are getting more sensitive. So as Sam said, we are living in the 21st century. People are awake. People hold their information not only from GRTS, but there are a lot of canals. So people inform themselves. You can be in the country doing things. People are outside. They know more than what you're doing there, and they are not in the Gambia. So that's how the world is today. So when a system is working, we all talk about it. We have to stop. We have to stop this system. But It should be the interest of the Gambians, and it should be the interest of the people who have money. Sam, you said it here, if you believe in God. We used to do as if we believe in God. I don't know. Because we used to say 95% Muslims, but sometimes there are certain acts where I ask myself, what makes these people believe that we are 95% Muslims? Look how some people are living. Either they call themselves Muslims, but they don't know what actually is in the Quran. Because most of them are doing things the very opposite. That means either they were not explained correctly what's going on, or even what God forbid to happen. Just like corruption, telling lies, stealing, and all these things. If you look sometimes in our society, it's a normal day life. But Friday, you see the mosques are all full. So either we sometimes don't understand what God is saying, or we are pretending. Because if we say 90% Muslims in the Gambia, if that was the case, there will be no corruption. Then we will not come to this platform talking about corruption and how to fight it. Then there must be something wrong. Either people don't understand what is written in the Quran, or we just say, okay, we are Muslims, but we don't practice what is in the Quran, or we say we don't understand what is written in the Quran. Sam, that was very important to say that too about religion, because everybody is beating his chest and telling you or can pretend and speak here some phrases what nobody understands. Even the Arabs don't understand themselves. Just to show up and tell the people, I know God or I'm near to God. If you are near to God, you have to stop lying. That is the most dangerous thing. What God don't like, telling a lie, which is normal in our society. So then I ask myself sometimes, which Muslim religion do we mean exactly? Or do we have our own Quran where we just do and stealing, corrupt, telling lies and saying we are Muslims? I think sometimes for some people, God will be even very angry of them because they are pretenders. I cannot say I'm a Muslim and I am stealing the coffers. Because of me, people are suffering. Because of my stealing, some people don't have something to eat. Because of my stealing, some people cannot give their kids something to eat. But still beating my chest and wearing white clothes and saying I'm a Muslim. So people will laugh at you. And I know some people, such people, if they die, they'll face God. Sam, you said it here. I think you are very religious too. So for me, I think I can only advise the people, especially the civil service, because even coming to work late is also a sin because you are being paid money what you don't even work for. And you call yourself still a Muslim. And you know exactly what you're doing. You understand? So we should not always use this religion to open doors. They are all lies. Because you have to behave first. People should see that in your behavior, that you are a clean Muslim, not only wearing white clothes and playing with your hands every day. It should be in your heart and in your character. You should be clean. You should not steal and you should not support any stealer, anybody stealing, and you should not support any mafia. No money launderers, or any other criminals. They are not in the book. You understand? They can have money, but they are not in the book. And God don't consider these people even as people, as human beings. Because where they have to go is already set. That's why they have to enjoy their life right now. Because they know what is waiting. And God is not sleeping. When we talk about God and we are Muslims and we have to practice it, that's very important. That we start to behave that way. I think that way we can also try to dam corruption in the country and make strict rules. They have to be dealt with. People who are stealing our coffers, they have to be dealt with, and strictly and seriously. That's the only way we can start stopping that, and the president should start that. We will celebrate the first person to be accused and prosecuted because of corruption in the Gambia. Now, because people don't know that now. I don't know even if our security knows that now, because they never dealt with that. They never got that as a command to go and arrest somebody, to go and arrest our criminals who are moving all corners there. People telling them, yes, sir, yes, sir. No, nothing is done. Nobody is doing anything. They are the most respected people in our society. That's where it starts. You understand? So I think that's okay for me today. Mr. Sawane, corruption in the Gambia is another dimension you cannot talk
Thank
about.
you, Alas. Thank you for that.
Right.
Yeah. So so talking about corruption, I think you guys mentioned it already. It's all over the map. We don't know where to begin. And come like what you guys spoke about, it starts from the top down. When we get the new administration in 2016, the hope was that, we're gonna fight and combat corruption at the deepest level. The thoughts were we will hold ourselves accountable and be a nation builder, not a nation, not a nation breaker or some folks who's gonna undermine our country. We thought that Gambians would change for good. We thought that our leaders would be an enforcer. They will not cooperate, or they will not go along with the old system status quo. We thought, we're gonna bring in new ideas to combat corruption. Okay, there are two things on this when you talk about corruption. One is people, they have no other ability to sustain living, and they become corrupt. The other form of corruption is people are greedy and they don't care for anyone else except themselves. So how do we deal with this? Two things. The ones who don't have any other means, they cannot live within their means. We need to come with an idea how to help as a government. We need to look at people's salaries and say, what makes sense here? The cost of living is skyrocketing. We need to match that up. If a cost of living, a bag of rice is close to 2,000, sugar, another 1,000 or 1,000 plus, oil, you add it up and look at all that, and then you put the rent on top of it and look at the average Gambians. What should be the minimum salary, minimum wage for average Gambians? Then you started looking at salaries. As a government entity or as a civil service, you look at realistic salary that can make somebody able to take care of him or herself and his family or her family. Once we work on wages, and I know during the campaign they were saying all kind of words. Everybody's saying, "Oh, we want to increase the pay rate," as a slogan. But how do you do it? Well, saying it is one thing, but doing it is another thing. You gotta have a plan. If you plan to fail, like Savage what he said, if you make the plan, you plan to fail. So a government our entities cannot just come and say, hey, everybody putting on their this thing slogan like, we're gonna raise the pay scale. How? Where do you get the money? So it has to be realistic. You have to know where to cut. The first thing is cut. When you cut unnecessary expenses, travels, per diems, you can budget some money for that. And look at the loopholes. You're not collecting proper taxes. So tell me, some people in Bakote, some people have their homes have not been taxed for a long time. Properties have not been taxed. And even if you collect the right taxes, you don't put it on the right place. The folks are putting them in their pocket. So you tell me, how are we going to move it anywhere? So all these loopholes, like Alas and Sam always say, these loopholes have to be tight. Once you started going after everything, tie the loopholes, make sure the taxes are collected properly, nobody left behind. Not like this person is my brother, this person is my koto, this person, no. As long as they have a property, they must be taxed. It's not like we can do tomorrow. So get that, close the loopholes, make sure that all those money collected are accounted for. Now, what do? You save. Step by step, save those money. Look at each and every government. If you are in a private sector, you can impose on that. So meet the minimum wage. Once the government come with a minimum, this is allowable and livable salary for Gambians. Then private sector, when they come, somebody from India or anyone who come to invest, they have to follow the guidelines. In the West here, if you have a minimum wage, if you pay somebody less than a minimum wage, you go to jail. So the Gambia should have that. Once they put that into practice, now what happens? People are able to be paid good salary to sustain living. That time, people don't have any excuse. If you go and become corrupt, now you are on your own. You cannot complain that, oh, my salary is too small, because now the government has came up with plans and laws that says to have a good living earning, you have to be paid this amount. Let's say 10,000, which is pretty much sensible to me. 10,000 kind of would take care of, at least someone. So now we got that part. Those who are greedy, that's the second level of people. Sam has a Mercedes, I want a Mercedes. Oh, my girlfriend said he want a car, or she want a car. You want to live a life that is beyond you. But just because you have access to, steal, you become corrupt. You want to live a life another level just because your next friend or somebody is over there is living that kind of life. So those are another level of corruption, which is not necessary, but people want to do it because they're greedy. Those people, we tie them on their back, put them to jail. Handcuff them, put them to jail. Because they have no reason of being corrupt, because they make good money, but now they want to be greedy. They want to live a life that they didn't earn. But just because somebody is pressuring them, their girlfriend is pressuring them, or their wives, or whatever you call them, or their family, they want to live this life. So those people, tie them, put them in jail right away. You don't need to increase their salary. You don't need to do anything with them. They belong to the jail. Now, what about looking at, when we look at corruption, the most important thing here is that everyone, starting from the top to the bottom, we need to be accountable. When whoever comes to the office, asset declaration, don't just go to ministry level. No, we gotta go even below ministry level. You start working, asset declaration. Anybody who could be corrupt, let's declare the assets. Let's know people's finances and know, when they started to live beyond that, they could be accountable for, starting from the president down. I know when Barrow came in and then he mentioned that there will be asset declaration with his team. I don't know how, how that went, but I know with this presidential campaign, they did come out and show, which some of them really did not really said what they had. But again, we're gonna go with whatever they put out there. Some people don't really underreport what their awards was. So, but we know, we know the deal. But anyway, that is also gonna bring, transparency and accountability. And also, we have to really, really be an enforcer. Our government lack that. When you put a law, you don't enforce it. You know what? The people following the law, they don't respect the law, and they don't respect you. Because they think you are a joke. If I tell my kid that, if you do this, our belt will take a belt, and he does it. I didn't show a belt. He kept doing it. Guess what? He wouldn't take me seriously. But if you stick a belt and that kid did something and you belt him, it's like, damn, that is not playing. Same thing applies here. The government need to, say what they promise that they're gonna do. You cannot deter crime. You cannot deter an act of corruption by just talking and don't do anything about it. Make it punishable. Make it punishable and deter the practice. So they're not doing that. And also, we need to control the price of goods. This has been happening in the Gambia. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry will come and put any price out there. It's not helping us. When individuals who has the ability to have certain goods and then they put it any price, and those who cannot afford it suffers. So the government must come in and regulate price. We are a third world country. We cannot be a totally capitalist country. There must be some kind of authoritarianism to dictate our businesses. But we also have to look into the businesses too, make sure that they are not losing money. Our ports, our tariff on the ports, it has to make sense. You cannot impose certain, taxes or certain tariff goods coming in to a certain height. It will affect, the sales of those goods. We have to start exporting instead of importing everything. And then that has also a toll on our goods, onions, peppers, all these essential goods that Gambia can plant. We need to go into that direction, especially in agriculture. Rice, we need to think about irrigations. We need to think about gardening. We need to think about farming. Let the farming be encouraged. Incentive, give farmers loans, give them equipments, give them things that would make their life easy and be able to produce. I'm telling you, if we do all these areas, people will be self-sufficient. And when they have self-sufficient, they don't have any excuse to be corrupt. If they do become corrupt, put them to jail. Guess what? All these opportunities government has tapped into, government cannot do anything, but you open doors for investors. You are like a, like a channel, a tunnel. Don't open doors for people who is gonna come and put 5 million in your pocket for your campaign. No, that's not what you open doors for. That's personal interest. You open doors for people who can bring in investment that will benefit your country. That's what government comes into play. Government creates ways and tunnels. Doesn't specifically create the job. So I hope the government folks are listening to this. But on the same time, when it comes to that, you don't create the jobs, government, but you create loopholes. You create ways how these jobs can be tunneled. Investors can come in, sensible contract, can be signed that looked out for the interests of your populace. Not you go and give your fishery to Chinese and they kill all your fish and give it to their pigs. It has to be a sensible investment that will be good for the country in the long haul, not temporarily. So I think with all this put into practice, corruption could be embattled. And let's make accountability possible by having paperless transaction. Everything electronic. So, like instead of somebody starting to forge your receipt, everything goes through a cashless. But that's what I mean to say, not paperless, but cashless. Everything go electronically and where it could be tracked. Instead of giving somebody tons of money in cash, the next thing you know, that person, whatever they did with that money, nobody can account for it. So it is highly important that our people started tracing things. The cashless transactions, everything digital, so that we can electronically account for them. And people have to come out. National Assembly, do your job. I know the anti-corruption bill, I don't know where it is at that stage it is at, but always come out and put corruption at the forefront. You are a legislative body that doesn't supposed to be scared. People voted for you. The president didn't vote for you. The ministers didn't vote for you. Your party didn't. It's not about party thing. It's about people. People trust you and make you an assembly member, a lawmaker. You shouldn't come out there and become a toothless bull. You shouldn't come out there and become someone who has no backbone. Stand for the truth that the people put you there for. Represent them and represent your country. Because with strong National Assembly, with strong judiciary system, I don't think the executive would have any power to ban us the way they would want to. So that is my take on this. I think corruption could be contained. It cannot be totally eradicated. But if you look at Kenya, they did it. And that's why they are progressing. They have no natural resources. They only depend on their taxes. That's why they are a developed nation now. Other countries, Rwanda, other countries, you can name them. They just came from a war 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Where are they? Gambia in 10 years, if we have the know-how and we put this practice into play, we can sit here and talk about this every day. If the government doesn't listen and put into practice, if our people don't listen and digest this and put into practice, it is of no use. We are doing our part, but collectively we are all responsible to make it work. So I would like you guys to come in on your final take on this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Swanee. Thank you. I'll come back in then from me. Alice will go back in, and I know I have a limited time today. So, but anyway, so thank you, Alice, for what you said, and thank you, Mrs. Swanee, for what you said as well.
You're welcome.
And like I started, corruption is something that has a lot of branches, and is everywhere in every institution in Gambia. And how do we fight it? It's a tough battle to fight. But like I said, it's always going to be best when a new president gets sworn in for the first time, during their first term, to start this. And if you think about it, Mr. Shawana mentioned a lot of things that I said in my WhatsApp audios. For the last 2 weeks or past 2 weeks, I've been releasing audios on corruption, same audios, kind of like I released in the past couple of years as well. But I want to start with my comprehensive civil service reform, because before you can fight corruption, it's just like before, when you're about to cook banachin, you don't start with the rice. Even though at the end of the day, the rice is what you're going to eat, right? You're going to eat the rice. When you cook banachin, you want banachin, you're going to eat rice first. When it's time to eat, you're going to be eating the rice with the ingredients.
I'm hungry now.
But when it's time to cook it, you don't start with the rice. There is a way to start. You've got to start with certain things. So same thing with corruption. Like I said in my civil service reform, a comprehensive civil service reform that I proposed really is a way to go. Start with the comprehensive civil service reform. And in that comprehensive civil service reform, I also mentioned that we need to have our National Assembly pass very good laws to protect our country from corruption. And of course, protect the whistleblowers, people that can come out and say, yep, so-and-so is stealing, and nothing will happen to them because they will be protected by the law. All right, so there will not be any retaliation against them. So the minimum wage that Sawana talked about is also in there. And our proposed minimum wage, yes, people need to be paid more in Gambia. Well, the problem is they can't afford to pay more because every funds that they borrow or they bring into the country, they all take their parts out of it, and they end up with nothing. And the funds then end up where it's intended for. And the money that we generate, the revenue that we generate within the country also goes into individual pockets. So it makes it very difficult. That's why there should be very good laws first. Then in the civil service reform that I proposed, minimum wage need to be established also in Gambia. When a minimum wage is established, knowing where our economy is and how much money we have, we've got to start somewhere. We can't jump to 10,000 for each person. Yes, that will be the end goal. We need to get to 10,000 and more, but you've got to start somewhere because you have to cut your coat according to your size. So starting with a 5,000, for example, and do a progressive salary increase every year, by the fifth year, you get to 10,000. And at that point, you're already closing all the loopholes in between. So the comprehensive civil service reform is going to put you on the right path to success in fighting corruption. And then you get into the details of corruption once you get that out of the way. Corruption, like I said, it will be best that the president himself handles that and tackles that. And it's not good. It's not going to be easy for an incumbent president to tackle corruption because the moment they start getting corrupted, they become very difficult to stop it because anywhere that you point at, those same people can point at you and say, well, if you fire me, they have in the back of their minds. And you also know if you fire certain people for corruption, they're going to point fingers at you because you're also corrupt. That's why it's best for the incoming president, a new person that has never been corrupt, never been in the government, came in. You may have been in the government, but never been corrupt. Come in for the first time and start right there with yourself. That's how you're going to be able to do this because anyone else that comes out of Gambia, anybody that wants to fight corruption, they're going to fight you. People are going to fight you. So it's not going to be successful. The anti-corruption bill is not going to be successful until the president is corruption-free. When the president is corruption-free, it comes down whole, the president holds himself accountable and then comes down and hold people accountable. But they have to have the know-how, the people that know how to do certain things that are going to help them fight this corruption because it's rampant, as we all know. It's all over the place. It's everywhere. It's not going to be easy to fight like that. But there are steps that they can take that can get us there. And like I said, my best proposal will be for first-time president coming in. That's where to start by declaring their assets. I've mentioned all of this in my audios as well. Declaring their assets and go down, and everyone that's going to work for them as well will be held accountable if the president can hold himself accountable and put systems in place. And that's why I said the key ingredients to stopping corruption. One of those I mentioned is the reform of the administration and financial system. You have to reform the administration and financial system, which means you're going to take cash out of people's hands and go digital. I mean, all of these things that I mentioned before as well in my audios. And that is how you're going to stop this, because if you take, people are stealing money because they have access to it. If you take the access away from them, they can't steal anymore because they can't access it. That's it. So very simple, but who is going to do it? Who is going to stand up and try to fight corruption in Gambia? The number one person that can do it will be the president. That's the only one. Otherwise, anyone, if you go to any ministry, permanent secretary wants to get up and fight corruption, guess what? He's going to have a problem with the minister. If any minister wants to get up and fight corruption, he's going to have a problem with the finance minister and also the president and the vice president. They all going to have problems. Anybody that gets up to want to fight corruption, they're going to fight you. That's what it is. So the only way it's going to be is two areas, that is starting with the president and of course our National Assembly, our lawmakers. Our lawmakers can make tough laws and hold the government accountable to make sure they follow that. If not, they have the right to pass a vote of no confidence. If you have a government that cannot control the country, the National Assembly have that right. It's in the Constitution to pass a no confidence vote. When you pass the vote of no confidence in the president by 75%, which is the supermajority of the National Assembly, which is 2/3 of the National Assembly, vote yes to that, then once that happens, the next step will be the Speaker of the House will have to contact IEC to have a referendum within 30 days. That's what the Constitution of the Gambia said, within 30 days. And IEC will have to hold that referendum. And if the majority of Gambian people say yes, no vote, a vote of no confidence, they back the National Assembly, that president is out, just like that. So we can bring somebody else in that can do the job. So corruption really need to start with the president. I'm running out of time here. I'm going to have to stop here. I've said a lot about corruption, a lot of audios that I released in the last 2 weeks that have been circulating in a lot of WhatsApp forums, but I can't say all of it now because we are limited on time here. But I do want to thank you both for your time. This is an interesting topic, and I think we can bring this on and on and on, and we'll never finish talking about it.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Alice.
Yeah.
What is your
thank you, Sam.
analysis on this?
Yeah, Sam is having a very good idea to make everything digital. Normally, we are in the 21st century. We should have been doing that, but we are a little bit retarded through our corruption. So you can see the dangers of corruption and why people or countries fight corruption. It's not going to bring us forward, but either we stay where we are or we're going back. So I would advise anybody being a president to help the Gambians to try to move forward by trying to fight against corruption. But I think even Mr. Barrow wanted that. I cannot blame him in this case. The bill was signed from Barrow. You understand? It went to the National Assembly. They were doing what they want. So in this case, we cannot even blame the president. But our own people, we voted to go and fight for us. You can see. So when we talk about corruption, you can see where this corruption is all over. Even in the parliamentary house there, where we put our people to represent us. That's where it begins. In this case, you cannot even blame Barrow about it, because as I know from good information, he signed this bill long ago, and they were discussing, going in and out, till now. Nobody want to touch it. So that is just showing you that it was not their interest somehow.
Because
which is very
some of them are corrupt. A lot of them are corrupt.
Yeah, that's it. So it's a very, 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 very dangerous topic for them. And that is showing you already. I mentioned here, when we all say we are Muslims, we are God believers, wearing white things with white bears and so on. But we are doing stealing, we are telling lies. We are cheating. But still, we still wear these white clothes and trying to fool God, who nobody can fool, seeing everything, hearing everything. You're fooling the people, but not God. He's seeing everything. And saying that you are a Muslim. Friday, you run and try to fight for a place, wasting your time, just to show up. That people say, oh, Mr. Sawane, he's a God-fearing also. God-fearing, but you're doing what God has said you should not do it. when you are a God-fearing man, when you believe in Him. You should not do this, you should not do that, you should not do that. So I cannot be saying I'm God-fearing and doing all the opposite. So we have to think about that again. Either we're doing what we want for the sake of just this life and then be prepared for after, I don't know, or doing as if somebody got the information not correctly. You know, on the other hand, what Mr. Sawane said is about the salaries to lift them up, and also this idea and everything. But we all know that because of corruption, Barrow don't even have that money. He even tried to lift the salaries in his term, last term. But I cannot do that without doing the other. You understand? The thing is, if I lift the salaries and don't stop corruption, the whole thing is going to lead us to inflation. You know, I can only make it effective if if I lift the salaries, I try to stop corruption. Then it will be effective. You know, but I cannot just give the people money, lift the salaries, and leave the country as it is. That is fatal. And then at the end, it looks like you don't even you did nothing. You understand? That's why it's very important to fight corruption, because corruption is very dangerous. People don't see your work. People don't see your suffering as a president. People don't see your projects just because of corruption. They are eating you honor. You doing and doing, holding loan, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So then you have to take it seriously. So that was it for today for me. And thank you very much, Sam and Sawane. I think you can
Yeah,
wrap
thank
it.
you, Sam. Sam has
Thank
another
you,
meeting.
Alice.
So
Thank you.
Alice,
Yep. I'm gonna head off and then let you guys proceed. Yep.
Yeah. Now we can wrap it up.
Yeah.
Now,
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Alice. I think you guys have really nailed it. And then, yeah, this is a very important topic. So we will catch up another time on this topic.
Yeah, Mr. Sawan, thank you very much. Because I myself too, the table is a little bit.
Okay. Do you have any final word, Alice?
Yeah, I just want to say that we take this corruption seriously in our country if we want to go forward. And the president, my advice is to try and just fight anybody, who is doing that to bring the country down. Not only the country, but it's a sabotage to his projects. He should see it that way. People doing that, they're against him because they are not supporting his projects, they are not supporting his term, they are not supporting his vision for the Gambian people, they are not supporting his interests. He should see it that way. And try to take it serious. When people sit somewhere and try to enjoy our coffers, he should be strict. And don't look at whether this person was campaigning for me. These are the problems. Was campaigning for me, whether I know this person or whether I'm a relative to that person. And Gambians are all related. If you go that way, you have no way. You have no chance. Or he was a friend of my brother, or he was my friend. When you keep yourself busy with these things as a president, you cannot do nothing. Because Gambians are all related. The Gambians are all friends. Gambians know each other also. As a president, you have to sacrifice. Let people throw you stones, but you have your goals and try to work on them. That means when somebody is corrupt, doesn't mean which party. The law is there for everybody, and try to work according to the law. Nobody will blame you because what we're talking about, the laws are there. They should be active. They must be used, and the MPs should take this bill seriously. whether they are guilty themselves or not, but they are doing it for the Gambia. And, the Barrow cannot work without that. For example, maybe there are certain laws Barrow can work effectively against the corruption, when this anti-corruption bill was signed or was taken seriously by the MPs. You understand? That's why I said here, you can say everything, but this time you cannot even blame Mr. Barrow. We have to blame our own MPs. So, and then having the next parliamentary election, people should open their eyes. Ask themselves always whether the person I voted did something for me or did something that is going to profit me. Not that they make the same mistake again and voting. So that's it, Mr. Sawane, and have a good day.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Alice, for that summary, for that ending. Yeah. So we thank our viewers for coming in and listening to this. This is a great piece. Corruption could be, combated, but we have a lot of tasks to put in place, and government must pioneer it, our leaders. So thank you, Alice, and then thank you for our viewers. We catch you next week.
Bye bye.
All right.